Chapter 25, Enemy Territory. I was surprised when I heard we were going to be heading north through Samaria, but after the night with Nicodemus, Yeshua told us that we are going back to Galilee by the most direct route, straight into the heart of that God-forsaken region. I considered the plan madness. All my life I'd avoided that place. It wasn't just the danger. After all, danger was everywhere with the Romans, but Samaria was a class of its own in terms of low life, low morals, and as far as any Jewish person was concerned, it was number one on the unclean places to avoid. You could call it enemy territory, especially if you wanted to keep your reputation and credibility intact. And for Yeshua, who was now speaking to more and more people of influence, you might think reputation and credibility would be important. As far as I was concerned, I thought Yeshua was mad to want to go right through the heart of that God-forsaken place. We headed out of the city and stayed one night in Bethania at the home of Yeshua's friend Elazar and his sisters, Martha and Miriam. It would be the last bit of light-hearted downtime before we set off. As we got closer to Samaria, the quieter and more anxious we all became. For once, there was very little chatter amongst us. By the time we finally crossed into the land of the people who had been our enemies for generations, we were walking in silence. I remember hearing how a band of Samaritans had once defiled the temple in Jerusalem by scattering the bones of dead people in the inner sanctuary. The ultimate desecration. People don't forget that sort of cultural and religious abomination. Yeshua, though, looked like he was having the time of his life. That worried me even more. What did he know that we didn't? In Samaria, there were none of those wide, fast Roman roads we were used to. Instead, Yeshua led us through narrow mountain passes along steep ravines and twisting goat tracks. Somehow, he knew exactly where he was going, and he kept a brisk pace, barely stopping at all. I didn't mind the haste. As far as I was concerned, the sooner our time in Samaria was over, the better. We slept where we stopped, off the track and in the hills. It wasn't glamorous living on the dust, round a small fire with limited food and water, but we were glad to be together at least. 2 days after we had left Jerusalem, we were walking down a narrow valley that runs between Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim. We needed supplies, so we dropped down to a small town called Sychar. We still had a day of walking ahead of us before we were out of Samaria. It was the hottest part of the day, and I was hoping that we'd just buy some food, refill water, and then press on. Samaritan outback villages aren't good places to hang out in. On the outskirts of Sychar, Yeshua peeled off the main track and started to head towards the well. The others wanted to go directly to the village to get supplies, so I quickly collected their water skins and followed a little distance behind Yeshua. A lone woman was already at the well, drawing a bucket up, and as Yeshua approached, I saw her stop, spy him, and look over him suspiciously. I don't know how to say it, but to me, she looked like trouble, not the sort you'd find in the city temple. Let's put it like that. She had the appearance of everything that I felt summed up this region, rough and on the make. I didn't trust the look of her 1 inch, and I wasn't going to get any closer, so I sat down behind a rock and just watched.